Hey, what is going on, my Shadowverse masters? It's your boy here again. Today, Dean from Burn 1, and we're doing another one of our deck profiles. This time, I'm giving my shot at Bannerless Sword. I'm not a big fan of the Royal Banner. I can go over that a little bit after. I think I'm going to go right into the deck profile and really talk about the card choices a little bit, and then explain why I like this, or at least this concept, more than I do the banner. So first, we're playing 3 Ding Dongs. It just ups the consistency of your deck. I think you really need this. 0-2 ward on death, draw a card. We're not playing the evolve form of it. That's fine. Let's also make this a little bit bigger for the people out there watching. We're playing 3 Made Leader. I like to play 3 of this because it's your best 1-drop, and then it can curve out into the 2-drop. And anything that can help the consistency of your hands and help you have to mulligan less is a good card in my mind. It's a little bit of a tempo loss, which is something we're trying to avoid, so I can understand cutting this back to a 2 of, but since you need it early, I don't know, it's really a struggle. And then also, these 1-mana cards will combo well with the Fervid Soldier. This is a 2-mana 2-2, but every time another follower enters the battlefield, it's +1/+0, and to go with it, we're playing 1 copy of its Evolve, where for 2 mana, you can get a full 2 extra stats, 2/2 worth of stats, and have the same ability. Basically, can help curve out on 3. If you need to, you can drop a Ding Dong down plus evolve it. Then you got a 5/4 that they have to deal with, and they have to get through your ward first. There's one Latham. He's kind of like the 40th card, right? You got 39 cards, and you have another one. So we kind of just have a Latham in there. He's a 3/3 on 2. Decent stat line, but you know what's better than 3/3 is this thing that just keeps getting bigger. So doesn't really make the cut. He's kind of a vanilla. Next we have Oathless Knight for 3 copies, 2 mana, 1/1, but on play you get a 1/1 as well, which is a knight, and then on evolve is the real thing. He gets direct attack, which allows him to attack standing enemy followers. Normally you can't trade with standing followers. The idea here is that we're able to clear a card that is threatening us, and able to get, it helps us get into the later game. Not very important usually outside of like a single time, because after that you're just playing him to be able to fill 2 bodies to maybe boost up something like a Fervid Soldier, or maybe like set up for a Sage Commander. So yeah, only 1 copy of the Evolve there. We're playing 2 Fencer, 3 mana, 3/3, decent stat line, and you choose another follower and give it +1/+1, so it represents 4/4 worth of stats for 3. Don't want to really go too heavy on this, since you do need a card to combo it with, right? Like, it relies upon maybe one of those knights or a card from another class sticking on the board. Okay, next up we have 3 Floral Fencers. This is a 3/3 for 3, however, has Evo 1, and we're going to be playing 4 copies of the Evolve, because this is one of our main cards. Becomes a 4/4, and you get a 2/2 Steelclad Knight and a 1/1 Knight. This is just going to help us get 3 creatures on board, to hopefully be able to have a few of them stick, and to be able to exert board dominance. And you get a bunch of different guys. It becomes a little bit harder to trade with. 3 Gem Staff Commanders. This is something, you know, some people play 2. For my initial list, just here, you know, theory crafting, I decided to go with 3 because I like the consistency of being able to search my deck for any Royal Follower and add to my hand. It's going to be able to, like, right, this is, anytime you don't have Floral Fencer on 3 going second, or maybe you're going first and you don't really have a good thing going, this will help you go get the Floral Fencer for 4. This can go get you really pretty much anything. So I'm just kind of maxing out on it for that. This is definitely one that, because of the tempo loss, you know, maybe the 3/2 is not good enough. Maybe you're just getting out aggroed. Maybe you want something more proactive. You can definitely swap this one out. At least like 1 to 2 copies. But I would like to see a couple copies in the deck regardless, just because finding what you need is very important. Next up, we have 3 copies of Sea Queen Otohime. This is a 4-mana 3/4 that on play you get an Otohime's Bodyguard, which is a 1/2. And more importantly, for 2 play points. So basically, it's a 6-mana card going first, or a 5-mana card going second. You can evolve it into this one, which allows you to get 3 Otohime's Bodyguards onto the board or into your EX area, and becomes a 4/5. This is a lot of board pressure, you know, being able to put 5 creatures on the board with a single card, or being able to stow a couple of them away in the EX area to play later as 1-mana creatures. That just like have wards. You can just, you know, kind of like tempo your opponent out. And let's see. I wonder if it's full. Yeah, so only the excess go to the X area, so you can't like store them away unless you really have more than enough board. But, you know, Otohime is kind of like a 6-mana card, or a 5-mana card, because you don't want to just raw drop it. Even though we only play 2 copies of the Evolve, the idea is that it's kind of hard to, like, tempo out all 3 Otohimes. Like, usually if 2 Otohimes get answered, I'm not really sure if you're in a good position to play the 3rd. You could cut down a Maid Leader to play a 3rd Otohime. So definitely think about that. But because, you know, we also have another 4-drop. This is the White General. He's a 5/3 with Rush. So he's able to clear a card on play. Very good. And then on attack, you get to give another creature +2. So if a random dude lives, you can just, you know, buff him up while clearing the threats. All around pretty solid card for 4. And then on 5, we have only 2 creatures. Actually, we have, yeah, 2 5-drops. The first one is Aurelia, Regal Saber. We play 2 copies. It's a 4/6. It always has Rush. It always has Direct Attack, which allows it to attack untapped creatures, and it always has Ward. A lot of effects on a single 4/6. Good stat line. Good defensive stat line, right? And then on Fanfare, if your opponent has 3 or more cards, this includes amulets, this includes everything on their board, this card gets +2/+2 going up to a 6/8, and it gains Aura, which is hexproof, so it cannot be targeted. This is a very powerful card, not really into Rune, but into something like Blood. Or, sorry, Abysscraft, I apologize. Or Dragon, or just pretty much like any class that's going to have cards on board. This is like your great equalizer. Very powerful line of text there in that hexproof. And it's also good into the, it's decent into the Haven matchup as well, gaining that Aura, being able to avoid a lot of the banish effects. They have to get through the full 8 stat line. And then we're playing, you know, the real thing, because like Sword is about buffing, right? So we're replacing the Royal Banner with the Sage Commander. 5 mana, 5/5 on play. All other followers get +1/+1. He by himself is not very good, but you know, as long as you can get a couple things sticking, he's definitely helps present a much larger board. We're also playing 3 Tsubakis. It comes in the TD, very powerful card. 6 mana, 5/4. On play, you either kill an enemy follower, or you get Storm. So this card is either 5 face damage, very good, especially in a more aggressive deck like this, or it's removal. You know, maybe if you want to play more mid-range, because we are a mid-range deck, so we do have like a little bit some defensive options there as well. And then for the last creature of the deck, we're playing Front Guard General. He is a 6/8 with Ward, and the last Ward's ability to summon 2 Steel-clad Knights onto your board, and they also gain Ward and can be acted immediately. So he effectively represents 10-12 worth of stats by himself, and he can help us, like on death, set up a Sage Commander play on the following turn to be able to push some damage. So you could play more of him. I've thought about it, but he is extremely bad in certain matchups, and he is also, you have to be like vying for that late game strategy where you just cannot stick dudes outside of him, and it's just, I think if you more than one of these hits the board, you've probably lost in some other way, is like kind of my thought. But you know, you might be able to kind of laugh him for him or something. We're playing 2 Unbridled Furies. You could probably play 3. This is a removal spell. You choose an enemy follower, deal X damage to it, where X the number of followers on your board. Very powerful with cards like our Oathless Knights, our Floral Fencers, and the spell I haven't gone through, and even the Otohime, right? Like, you float a single mana, you now have a removal spell for your opponent's card, potentially up to 5 damage on a 1 mana card. Very efficient, as long as you haven't been board wiped, or you can do it on your turn. It is quick, you can do it either. Probably actually do want to play 3 of these. I do apologize for having that in the list. Maybe I should have thought about that a little bit harder. And we're also playing 3 Alwaida's commands, because once again, Otohime on 6, usually if you go first. Alwaida's just like another card that helps us curve out, helps us present a lot of bodies on 5, and play into our Sage Commander. You put a Viking, a Steel-clad Knight, and a Knight, with the only new one is the Viking is a 3/2 with the ability to hit face. So it's got Storm. And just definitely, you know, more pressure. And why, like, I think this is pretty close to like what you want to be playing. And why am I not playing the Royal Banner, you might be asking? So my thought is the Royal Banner eats up a board slot. So already Otohime is 2 bodies, and then you get 3 more on Evolve, right? So that's 5 bodies. If you have the Royal Banner down on 4, 4 is a huge tempo turn, right? The idea with the Sage Commander is that not only do you not have to present the extra mana on 4 to get down this amulet that could be removed, and that also, like, de-incentivizes you from, like, certain plays that, like, definitely fill up your board, right? Like, you can't just Alwidas? I don't know. But, like, you can't, like, right, Fervid Soldier, Alwidas on 7, right? That's already 4 guys. So there's, like, nothing else. And even with a board like that, like, maybe you go to 8, right? And you could Ding Dong, Fervid, Alwidas, and then have, like, the ward as well, right? Like, there's no, like... Since your board slots actually matter, the Royal Banner can be a little problematic. Royal Banner is legitimately bad in multiples, right? Because it sits on your board. So, like, let's say it doesn't get removed, right? And then you draw into a second one. It becomes, like, an actual liability in, like, a long game. Because you can't put down a second one without having the problem of it eating up your board be compounded. While the Sage Commander doesn't really have that. You put a Sage Commander down, and if they kill him, that's fine. It's probably expected. But if they don't, that's a lot of... That converts into a lot more face damage, right? And then the other problem is, like, I don't think that the +1/+1 gets you out of removal range for a lot of decks. Otohime's Bodyguard is a 1/2, goes up to a 2/3 with the +1/+1. And a lot of the AoE removal is for 3. A lot of the target removal is for 3. It gets you out of some single mana spells, but it doesn't get you out of things like the Evolve or the Conflagrations. It doesn't really get you over the hurdles that I think are going to be your main... The main removal you're going to be seeing, right? So, yeah, that's the deck. That was kind of my thoughts about why I like this a little bit more than the Banner Sword. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong, you know? I know that on our Dragon video, you know, we got a little bit roasted because, you know, our deck wasn't good into the mirror. And we do apologize for that. Like I said, we're trying to definitely up our game. Hopefully this one's good. And if it's not, you know, let us know. Because, you know, we're looking to improve too. But until next time, this is Dean, signing out.